Hello, how's everybody doing? I'm back with another game dev stream. Yeah, so let me recap what we did last week, or at least last session. So for those of you who are just now tuning in or checking out the VOD, you can stay caught up. So I'm just gonna play through what we have really quick. So we're making this 3D platformer inspired by Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey. You play as a little tree frog. You can run around. You can collect coins. If you bump into spikes, you take damage. You can die. You can also, if you come over here, you can hit the flagpole and raise the flag and win. So we have a basic game loop. Today I want to add some placeholder animations using Mixamo, so I will go ahead and start with that. So I'm gonna bring my Mixamo over here, and we're gonna upload our FBX, which I'm just gonna drag it straight from the Unity folder, which is in our models folder. So I'll just drag that FBX and pop it in here. Let it upload. So we eventually will be rigging and animating this character in Blender, but for now we're just going to use Mixamo's auto rigging and animation just to get something in the game and working. So Mixamo's nice because you can just drag these various points and have it auto rig. The standard character is probably okay. I don't know how it's gonna deal with the fingers. We'll just have to see. Hope all of you had a good weekend. Had a pretty relaxing one. Hanging out, waiting for this auto rig to finish. Okay, so the fingers are a little messy. The neck is very messy. But this is just a placeholder. We are going to be replacing it later, so I'm gonna say it's okay. Alright. So now we can just take any of these animations and apply it to our character. Have him do some fun little dances. Or we can use one of these like animation packs, like the action adventure pack, which has like, you know, idle and running and jumping and stuff like that. So we might use this one. Kind of just see what. Don't remember what all animations are in it. So we might just hand pick some animations. So. Let's see. So I guess the first thing we want to do is we're just gonna download our rigged character in a T-pose. the skin. We'll just download that. And we will just drop that into our models folder. And we'll rename this to what our model was named. So it was Frog Guy Walkout. And then we'll just put rigged. There's some setup we need to do now if we want to import the rig. So we want to make sure it's set to humanoid. We might not use the humanoid for the final one, but for this prototyping it'll be best if we use humanoid because we can retarget animations and stuff. So we want to do create from this model and hit apply. And we'll go to configure. It looks like everything here came in okay, so we can kind of test some of this stuff out. It looks fine. Again, this is just a placeholder so we can test out some animations. Cool. Good enough. So we'll hit done. We do not need to import animations for this one because it's just in a T-pose. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and pick the actual animations that we're going to use in Mixamo. I didn't mean to open Blender there. Alright, so we definitely want a standing idle animation. So let's see which standing animations they have. So they have this one that's just called standing idle, which I think is fine. But let's just type in idle and see what kinds of idle animations they have. So they have this one that's more like ready for action. I think that's the one that the action adventure pack uses. I kind of like. And we definitely want to look at them from behind because that's the view that we're going to see the most with this game, since it is a third-person game. So we'll go ahead and download that one. And for these ones, we're going to bring them into the animation folder. I spelled Mixamo wrong. There we go. So, so these ones we're just gonna put in this Mixamo folder. So I didn't mean to grab that T-pose one. So for these ones, we're gonna set it to humanoid. But rather than create from this model, we'll just copy it from the one that we already did, because it's using the same rig. And then we do want to import the animation. This is one thing that really annoys me about Mixamo, is every single animation that you import comes in named mixamo.com, which is extremely not helpful. So I'm just going to rename it to idle. And we want a loop time. So when it reaches the end, it's just going to loop back. So we have a looping idle animation. Cool. So we also have walking and running. So some of these are a little silly. They have this like tiptoe walk, which, you know, I kind of like. Obviously not for like our default walk, but like and there's like settings that we can tweak. So if we want to have like a sneak animation, this might be a good like sneak. So I'm gonna go ahead and download that one because I think it's fun. And I will rename it, instead of walking, I'll name it sneaking. Or just sneak. that one into Unity. Alright, so we do want to walk, have this sassy walk, catwalk. This one's fine. I don't know, some of these are just like very weirdly named. I like his strut. We'll do that one for his walk. No, I think I like this one better. Maybe I'll increase his stride a little bit though. I'll download the sassy walk and put it in, because it's funny. But yes, I do like the sassy walk. Or we could do this like extra sassy one, which is very good. But no, I'll download this one. This one's great. I'll name this one Sassy Walk. I'll just gonna rename these files so they make sense to me when I bring them in. Let's see. What other animations do we want? Sneak, like crouch walking is always funny, but I feel like definitely for this character, like when he's sneaking, it would be best for him to be like on all fours or like super crouched down. Which won't be the easiest to find like a Mixamo animation for that, so we'll hold off on that for now. We also want to jump. It's a backwards jump. Jumping down off something. I want like a really big jump. And this is, again, one of those things where I feel like Mixamo is really limited. And I do plan on, when I get a little bit farther along and actually doing some animation, I want to release an actual animation pack that people can download and use in their own games. So stay tuned for that. Have a somersault thing. Hold on, my dog is barking. I will be right back. I'm gonna let him back inside. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. My neighbor's dog was barking and making my dog bark a lot, so let's find the jump that we're looking for. Alright, I think this one's okay. I think we can get multiple animation clips out of this one. Because we can get, you know, like the actual jump, we can get a fall, loop, and a landing. I'll go ahead and grab that one. Alright, we also want to, I just want to check and see if there's a fall that might look better. I'm pretty sure this one is exactly like what I'm going to do, where they just took a few frames out of that jump animation and they loop it. But let's see, there might be... Yeah, we'll just use, but let's see if we can find some landing animations. So again, I think that is, this is exactly what I was planning on doing, from that other animation. But then there's also this. We had like the hard landing. Which I think we do want a hard landing. And we'll grab that one too, just in case we want it. I think we should get a flip as well. So I'll grab that one. The backflip looks so silly because his head is so big. Clips into the ground. That's good. That one's better. Alright, that should be enough to get us started. Oh, actually no, one more. We want a death animation for when you hit 0 health. Gotta get a good one. Gotta get a dramatic one. That's good. I think. Maybe. So some of these are like holding a weapon or something, so they're kind of funky. Can he kickflip? Maybe. Let's see. There is no kickflip animation, unfortunately. There's a flip kick. So he does a flip and then kicks. That's kind of cool. Yeah, well, it's not really that much of a kick. But it is very fun to just like watch these animations play. And I probably will come back here later for more animations, but for now, I think we have enough. So let's go ahead and make sure we have everything we want. We got backflip, we got running forward, flip, landing, hard landing, and we want this death animation. So we'll grab the ones that we didn't have. Let's see. I don't think I brought that sassy walk in. Alright, so we'll go ahead and set these all up the way that we need them. So I'm gonna make this bigger just so we can see what we're doing better. So obviously this backflip animation can't be called Mixamo.com, so we'll call it backflip. And it has too much of a lead up, which, like, this is one of the principles of animation. We call it anticipation. So like you can see he like crouches down before he flips, and that's great for like a movie or a cartoon, because you want to, like, you know, or even if this was like an enemy, like being able to see them do the anticipation before they flip would be cool. But because this is for a game and it's for the player character, we don't want to have like an animation, like a wind up before he does the flip. So we're gonna start the animation like here. So we're just gonna trim off the first little bit of it. And we also don't really need that settle at the end, because we're gonna blend out of this animation into another animation. So we'll just cut it off at like frame 50. It doesn't need to loop. So cool, we have a backflip. We'll rename this one to death. Perfect. No notes. I'll rename this one. This one's already named idle. Looks fine. It loops. I already imported that one, didn't I? Jump. Again, we don't want to have the anticipation, so we're gonna trim off the first few frames. So he'll just kind of snap to that crouch position and then jump up. And we'll stop it around that part right there, because we're gonna get multiple animations from this one. So we just get him jumping up. And then we're gonna make another one that is our fall. So the fall is gonna start like, okay, let me see where this actually starts. So, or where this one ends, I should say. So it ends on like frame 24. So we want this one to start on frame 24. And this one will loop, so it doesn't need to be like a super long one. So we'll just like grab this section here. It's kind of jittery, which is fine. And then we can also get a landing animation out of this. So And the landing will just be like the last section of it from there to like there. We don't need to keep the whole, well, we can keep the whole thing, and then like we can blend out of it earlier if we need to. I like that. Not sure if we're gonna use that one, but I grabbed it anyway. So I'll just like name this like tall landing. Well, we'll name it landing underscore tall so it's easier to sort them. And we'll come back to that later. Alright, we'll name this one front flip, or flip underscore front, because we'll have the back flip as well. I guess I had imported the sassy lock. I realized we didn't actually grab a run animation, so we'll go ahead and do that now. Let's see. I think this one's probably best for what we want. Run does not need two ends. All right. Alright, so we want to go through and make sure all of these animations are set to humanoid, and then I'm going to copy it from the frog guy that we already set up. And then there's some other settings we want to mess with as well. Because we're not using root motion for these animations, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we're gonna set up. Let's see. We'll grab our main character, our player character rig, and we'll go in this prefab. So it currently just has the frog guy blockout model, but we're gonna replace it. And we can replace it with the rigged version, which you can see has a rig, and automatically give it an animator controller component, or give it an animator component. We need to make the animator controller for it. We want to uncheck root motion, because what root motion does is it basically applies the movement of the animation to your character, but we're moving our character through a script, so we don't want root motion turned on. So I'm going to make a folder called the animator controllers, and we will go ahead and make an animator controller for our frog guy. And we'll assign it here. So we need to open the animator window. I'm gonna just bring it over here so we can see them both. So we'll drag in some animation clips. So we'll start with the now before I drag in any clips, we need to create some parameters. So we'll make one that is speed, which will get, this is going to be a float value to get passed in through the script that will drive the animation. So we're going to make a blend tree, and the blend tree will blend between our idle, our walk, and our run. So we want to have 3 different motion fields. So the idle will be 0, walk will be 1, and run will be 2. So we can kind of test that here. So if we have 0, stand still, if we bring that forward, we get a walk, bring it all the way forward, we get a run. And it blends between those states. I'm gonna name the blend tree grounded locomotion just so I can tell at a glance what that does. I'm also gonna name that the state grounded locomotion as well. I'm gonna have a few other parameters in here. We'll have a Boolean that is called grounded. And I'll have a trigger called jump. I will also have a trigger called die. So we can drag in some more animations. If we go into our jump, we have that fall animation. It's a loop. And we also have our jump and our land. So we can set some transitions that will happen from our grounded locomotion state to jump and fall. So we can make a transition that goes to jump, and that will be triggered by our jump trigger. So if in our code we say to jump, we can trigger this jump animation. And we can have a transition from the jump to the fall, and that will just be based on the time. So you can kind of preview it here. So he'll jump and then he'll go into the fall animation. It's kind of hard to tell because the fall animation is so short. So I will set the exit time to 1 just so it will play through the entire jump animation before it goes into the fall animation. We can have another transition to fall just directly from our grounded locomotion. This one will not have exit time, so it will trigger as soon as this condition is met. Now we want grounded false. So you'll enter this fall loop until grounded becomes true. We'll make another transition to landing. Again, no exit time, but we want grounded true. and then we'll make a transition back from the landing to grounded locomotion. That will have exit time, and we'll set it to 1. So we'll play, actually we'll leave it default for now. So, let's see. So let's just play the game from here, and the character should just go straight into the idle animation and then not do any. Or okay, it goes into the fall animation because we never set grounded to true. So now the character will stay in the idle animation while he's moving around, which is not what we want. But the animation loops. He's not just standing there in his A pose. So that's good. So we want to now we want to feed the controller input into the animator controller on whether or not it should walk or run based on how far you're pressing the stick in any direction. So let's go ahead and do that. So first thing we need to do is we need to we need a reference to our animator controller. All right. So we'll go ahead and assign this animator in this script. So now in the code we can access these parameters and triggers and stuff through the code. So we'll go ahead and do that in the update. We'll just say animator.setFloat, and the name we used was speed. The value that we're passing through is going to be it's going to be the input vector from our gamepad. So input vector, and we're going to get the magnitude of the input vector, so that will kind of basically take, regardless of the direction, just like the total amount of input and clamp it between 0 and 1, which is what we want. So if there's no movement on the stick, it'll be 0, and then as we start to move the stick, it will move you know, up to 0.25, 0.1, or like all the way up to 1. So and a lot of this code is going to change pretty soon when I refactor this character controller to be using a state machine rather than just the simple script that it is right now. And the state machine will more closely align with the different animation states that the character can be in. And it just gives me more control over the movement and stuff. So it seems like something's not working quite right. So I'm just gonna pop this window out so we can look at this speed here. And it looks like it's not getting set, which is weird. Let's double check. And obviously the reason it's not working is because I didn't hit save. So I made a change to my code and I didn't save it, and I expected it to work. That's on me. So now we can run around. Isn't that neat? So when we're not pushing forward fully in a direction, we kind of do this silly little walk, and then we can run. So we want to have that jump animation trigger too. But this is pretty great. Very funny. Weird little guy just running around. We also want to be able to trigger the death animation when you die and not show the game over screen right away. So we have that working. So we're already reading the character controller is grounded here. So we can also go animator. We'll do that at the very bottom actually. Dot set bool. And then what did we call it? Did we call it grounded or is grounded? We need to be consistent. We just called it grounded. I'm gonna rename that to is grounded because that's, I like booleans to, you know, closely describe what they do. So like is grounded, yes or no, true or false. Grounded could be ambiguous, and you know, grounded might not necessarily be the most ambiguous one that we have, but there are, you don't want to be ambiguous with the names of your variables. So we have is grounded. And then we'll set that to character controller dot is grounded. So now if we're walking and we walk off an edge, it should transition from our walking or running to our falling animation. So it's kind of working, but there's some funkiness happening with it. So we'll fix that in a minute, but yes, I love these Game Chops albums. They're so relaxing. All right, let's fix that landing animation. So part of the problem is in these animations, the Y offset of the character is not baked into the pose. So basically, like we always want the origin of the character to be zeroed out. But with this jump animation, you can kind of see it, like it goes off the ground. So we're gonna set it to feet and we're gonna set it to bake on all three of these animations. And that will just ensure that we don't get that weird, like him being off the ground when he stands up, or when he lands. Yeah, Life is Strange does have a really good soundtrack. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I should add that one to the mix. Alright, that's not quite right. So what's wrong with that one? I think it might be, let's see. We want original, not feet. Sorry about that. The problem with doing it based on the feet is the feet move as part of the animation. But if we keep original, the origin stays where it's supposed to. We also don't want any rotation. As you can kind of see, the character's like slowly rotating while this loops. So we'll set original and we'll bake it just so it stays. I'll make sure we do that to all of them. Alright, that looks way better. And it's kind of funny, like, we're not actually triggering a jump animation, but because the way the fall animation works, it kind of looks like we're jumping. I still want to trigger that jump animation, though. And I want to be able to exit the landing animation if we're moving. So those are a couple things we can do pretty easily. I also want to make sure that the idle walk and run are not including any rotation. And these are some things that when I do eventually release my animation packs that I'm going to make for this, this stuff will all be taken care of, so you won't have to tweak it yourself. Alright. So we can actually have multiple transitions. So right now we have it, there is exit time on this landing animation. But we can make a separate transition, and we can give this one no exit time, and we'll just say, like, if speed is greater than 0.5, we'll use that one instead. So this one will kind of just like instantly go from the falling to running, I think. Yeah. So we get like a little bit of the landing if we're moving, but not the full landing. So we already have, like, this is already starting to look like something. It's very silly looking, but you know, we have a little guy that can run around now, and that's pretty great. And this has only been like a week of work. Not even working close to full time on it. Alright, so we do want to trigger that death animation when our health hits 0. So, first things first, we gotta actually drag that death animation into our animator controller. I also want to double check those settings. Cool. We'll just bake all all the animation. Cool. And then we can, this animator controller has this thing called any state. So this is basically just a shorthand. So instead of having to make these transitions from every single state to this death animation, we can just use the any state. And we want our condition to be die, and we want no exit time. So when die happens, that will happen. So let's see, what's the best way to do this? So it looks like our health script didn't get applied on the player character. Alright. So now we have maybe. I screwed something up. So I want to make sure that the health script is on the player character. I'll get rid of this one. Oop. Sorry about that. Just setting some of this stuff back up. Okay. Alright, what wasn't working with it? So I'm going to trigger the death from this event that we created. So we want the rig, the character rig, and we can say set trigger, and we can set pick to die. Nice. So we still want to trigger the game over thing, that game over screen, but we want to do that after after the death animation plays. So in our game manager script, we do have that game over screen that we were calling before, which was just doing a game over screen.set active true. So I'm gonna make a private function called show game over screen. And I'm gonna move this this code where we're setting that game over screen to true into that, and then in this game over I'm gonna say invoke show game over screen, and it's gonna have a delay of like 5 seconds. Let's say 3.5. So now we can trigger this function from that health script, and then the death animation will play, and then after 3.5 seconds we'll ship the game over screen. Sorry, I got hiccups. All right. Cool. That already looks way better. And I broke the thing that's playing the audio on the coin, so I'll fix that really quick. Awesome. So we have our full little game loop. Alright, next we want our jump animation to actually play. So go in our player character script, and in here where we're adding force, we'll say animator dot set float or set trigger jump. And then outside of there, we're going to say animator.reset trigger, just to make sure it doesn't get stuck in a weird... we'll leave it for now. I don't think it'll get stuck in a weird state, but we might need to have some code that manually resets the trigger, because sometimes if you set a trigger in the code, it can get in this weird state where the trigger gets stuck on, which is not what we want. But we'll see. So you can kind of see what I was talking about there, where we jump, but we're moving, so it jumps again when we don't want it to. We can kind of debug it by popping that out. And we'll look at this jump trigger. So I press it, and then it doesn't actually reset till I'm back on the ground, which is not what we want. So, yeah, I am going to go ahead and say animator.reset trigger. So that should make sure that that trigger doesn't get stuck. Okay, so now it looks like we're never actually entering the jump state. We're only entering the fall state. So let's figure out why that's happening. I'm just gonna put that in an else. So if either can jump is false or jump is false, then we'll reset the trigger. But we won't do it the same frame, and I think that was what the problem was, because we're setting it to trigger, but then we were also resetting it the same frame. So let's see if this fixes it. It's not a huge deal if it doesn't fix it, because it still looks fine when we just go straight to the fall animation. Yeah. Cool. So there's a couple of things I want to fix now that we got that working. The health bar looks really janky because it's the sprite is being stretched weirdly, and it's not what I want it to look like. But the problem is we don't have like just a rectangle sprite, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that in a dumb way. So let's look at the package manager. We want this 2D sprite package, and that will let us create some like primitive sprite shapes, including a square / rectangle that we can use for our health bar. All right. So now we can create where'd it go? 2D sprite, and we can make a square. And in our health bar, we can use that square in that fill, I think. Let's see. We gotta set up the borders, so we'll go in the sprite editor. We'll just do 10 on all of them, or 12. Doesn't really matter. There we go. So now, now our health bar stays the right shape. And we should also add some item that you can pick up that will refill your health. I'm gonna go ahead and save. I'm gonna open up Blender. We're gonna make a little heart that you can collect. I'll just grab Alright, so let's see. I can't remember if the well, we can add a star, that might be kind of fun. Actually, I don't like that. We're gonna make, yeah, we'll make a heart. So we'll add a mesh plane. Go into edit mode, add a loop cut. We're gonna delete this face so we can mirror it. Back to edit mode, add some loop cuts on both sides. that looks fine. It's a little big, but we'll scale it in object mode. Gonna move it up. And we will extrude it forward and shrink it down. Extrude it forward, shrink it down. And we'll mirror it on the X and the Y. I'll flatten this edge around the side. There we go. Alright, that'll work. It's not the best, but it works. And I probably screwed that up. I need to make sure selected only and all this stuff. There we go. Cool. So now we have our heart. So the heart is gonna be a similar setup to the coins. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like duplicate one of the coins. And we'll make this into the heart. So first, we're going to replace the model with the heart. And we want a material for that heart, so go in our materials folder. We already have one that's just red that we're using for the character's eyes, so we'll just use that same one. That looks fine. Or we could use the Gemerald shader. It looks kind of weird because of the way that the geometry is, so we'll keep it the red. And we'll rename this to heart. And we want a different script. We don't want it to be a collectible. Well, we do want it to be a collectible, but we don't want it to be the same exact one as our coins. So I'm just gonna go ahead and unpack this prefab so I can make it into a new prefab called heart. I'm gonna make a new script called health collectible. and it is going to, instead of inheriting from collectible, it's going to inherit from, or instead of inheriting from mono behavior, it's going to inherit from collectible. So let's look at collectible. So on this one, it's kind of working in this circular way where it's calling the collector's collect method, and that calls the collect on the collector, or the collector calls collect on the collectible. So we'll keep some of this, but we will also let's see. We're gonna make this protected private void on trigger enter. So in our health collectible, we can override and then we also want to make sure that in the base one, let's see. Trying to remember how this works. Oh, it needs to be virtual, not protected virtual. Does not like about this. Okay, it needs to be protected. Sorry. Protected virtual void on trigger enter. So, so now we can do everything that we're doing in the base class, but we can do other stuff too. So we can say base dot on trigger enter, and then we can also do we can get the health component now we can say if health is not equal null, we'll modify the health by an amount, and we'll make we'll have an int that is the heal amount, and we'll set that to 1 by default, and we'll just say health.modify health heal amount. Let that compile for a second. So now in our heart, we can replace this collectible with a health collectible. We can set the point value to 0 because we don't care. We don't need it to increase the score. We only want it to increase the health. And then we'll also just turn this game object off. And make sure it's set to runtime only. I still don't know why the default is off. And then we want a sound effect to play. So let's see if we can make a health sound effect. That will work. Export wave. We'll call this pick up health. What did I do? I forgot to give it an extension. Hold on. I'm actually going to rename it to collect health. And I'm also going to rename the coin one to collect coin, but I'll do that in Unity. Because we decided to go with the name collector and collectible instead of pick up and pick up bubble and that sort of stuff. Cool. So we will, in that instead of collect a coin, we'll do collect health. And we'll set it to 3, and we'll make a prefab out of it. So now we can duplicate this, place it throughout the level. So now if you get hurt, you can heal. Let's make sure it works. So the coins increase your score, the gems increase your score by 100, the hearts do not increase your score, but they refill your health. Cool. I do want the hearts to have the same animation that the coins have, so I will add that real quick to the prefab. There we go. So now you can tell it's a heart from any angle because it spins and stuff. Cool. Alright, what should we do next? So we got health, we got damage, we have collection, we have animation. Um, Give me a minute to think. I'm gonna take a quick break and think about it, and then I'll be right back. back. I think I've decided what I'm going to do next. I want to make some different types of platforms. So we'll start with a moving platform. So we'll make a cube. Let's see. Alright, so we'll make the moving platform roughly 2 by 3. And it doesn't need a mesh collider, we'll put a box collider on it. Cool. And we'll name it moving platform. We can get rid of that propeller shape. And we're going to make a moving platform script. So we're going to have a start point and an end point. And those are going to be transforms. And in our we're going to have a start function. If I void start, we're going to say transform.position equals start point dot position. And then we'll do serialized private float speed equals 1. And then we're gonna make a coroutine, which will let us do a function over time. It'll make sense in a bit. So we're gonna make, to run the coroutine, we need an I enumerator. And we'll call it move. And coroutines or IEnumerators are functions that have to wait for other things to happen. So the simplest thing that we can wait for is null, which will basically just wait till the next frame to run it again. So we say yield return null. So that will basically just, when we kick off this function, it will wait a frame and then it will end the function. We just need that. We need it to yield something, otherwise this won't work at all. So move coroutine equals start coroutine, and then we'll use our move function. Let's see. So we're going to do some linear interpolation in this function. So the first thing we need is let's see, float current equals 0. And then we'll say float duration equals our speed is distance over time, so we want to get the distance from the start and the end point. So we'll do vector3.distance start point dot position, and then endpoint dot position divided by or times speed. So distance times speed will equal time, because speed is distance over time, I think. Hold on. Let me double check this. Distance over time. All right. So now we can say while current is less than duration, transform dot position equals vector3.lerp, which is linear interpolation, so it will move linearly from point A to point B. So start point, end point, and then T is the percentage of the way from the start to the end. So we want current divided by duration. We need the positions, not the transforms. And then we'll put our yield return null here. And we also need to increment current. So do current plus equals time dot delta time. And that will basically, it will increment the current value one frame at a time, so we can move from 0 to whatever the duration is. And that should, if I add moving platform, I need to add a start and an end point. So gonna make 2 empties. I'll name the moving platform start and moving platform end. And I am going to give them an icon just so I can see them. So we'll have start be blue and the end be red. And obviously we don't want them in the same place. And we want the moving platform start and end there. So cool, we have, it moves from the start to the end, but then once it gets to the end, it just stops. So we want to flip the start and end when it hits the end, and then restart the function. So, let's see. So one easy way we can do this is we can say we can pass in a parameter into this coroutine. So we'll do transform start, transform end. So rather than using a start point and end point, we can do start and end. And then we can call this function again from itself, so it'll loop endlessly until we tell it to stop. And then we can just switch the end and the start. So this should just loop back and forth, moving from point A to point B, and then from point B to point A, and it'll just endlessly loop until we tell it to stop. But I will manually stop it. In the on disable, just to make sure that it's not running when it shouldn't be. Okay. So we have a moving platform. Awesome, thanks for hanging out. See you later. I think I might have screwed up some of the math, but let me just double check. Yeah, I think I need to divide instead of multiply. should be an easy fix. I think it just needs to be divide by speed instead of time speed. Cause yeah, it should be distance. Yeah, time should be distance divided by speed to give us time. It's basic physics. That's easy to get flipped around. Yeah, that seems more right. And if we go ahead and increase the speed, it should move faster. Cool, cool. I am going to tweak a couple things in this script just to make it easier to make into a prefab. So we have our start point, we have our end point. We also want to have, we want to store the platform. And then rather than moving the current transform position, we'll move the platform's position. And that way, here, I'll show you. So we can now, we don't have to have the script on the platform itself. We can make an empty object. And we can store the platform, the start, and the end point inside that object. We can call this moving platform. Throw that script on there. Our start, our end, and then the actual platform, and then our speed. And that way we can turn this whole thing into a prefab and reuse it more easily. I'm just gonna say moving platform underscore platform. So I can move this whole thing around. I can duplicate it. Cool. All right, so now we want to be able to actually move on the platform, and I can already tell you that there's going to be an issue with this because the way that we're handling our movement, the character controller is not going to move along with the platform correctly. So you can see, like, I'll be standing on the platform and it will move underneath me and just knock me right off. And that's because the way that character controllers work. And there's a few ways to fix that. The quickest way to do it would be to parent the character to the platform when they land on it. But that has problems like it's slow to parent and unparent objects, so it can cause performance problems with the game. So the best way to do it would be to So we want to have a trigger on the platform, and then when the character lands on the platform, the platform will add some additional movement speed to the player. So I think that's the way we'll do it. So we need a trigger on the platform itself. So we'll make a box collider, set it to trigger, and we'll move it. Actually, rather than doing it that way, we'll make an empty for the trigger, and we will copy this box collider, paste it on here. So we'll make this one a trigger, and we'll scooch it up a little bit. And we'll add a rigid body and make sure that it's not set to gravity and set to kinematic, so we can actually detect the player. So we want to have our trigger enter event, and we also want to trigger exit, which we haven't used yet, but it essentially works the same way as trigger enter. So when the player enters the trigger, we want to keep track of that, and when they leave, we want to keep track of that. So we will store, we'll serialize it just so we can debug it more easily. We'll do private player character, and then we'll say get the player character component if it's not null, we will assign and then we'll do a similar thing here. So we want to check to see if a player character is the thing that is leaving the trigger. Then we'll say if PC is not equal null, we'll say player character equals null, and then we want to have a fixed update function. So this will run every physics frame, and we want to get the distance that the platform moved that frame, and add that distance to the player's movement. So we want to store a vector 3 that was previous position, and we will also set previous position equal to start point dot position, or platform dot position. Doesn't really matter because they're the same thing right now. And then in this fixed update, we'll do the move is equal to the current position, so platform that position minus previous position. And then we want to say previous position is equal to platform that position. And then we want to pass this move into our character controller as additional movement. So we want to have, and again, I'm going to serialize it just so we can keep track of it better. So we'll just call it extra movement for now. And then we want to have a function that we can add extra movement. It's vector 3. And we'll say extra movement plus equals movement. And we want to add that to the character controller's move. So we'll say plus extra movement. And then we want to zero out the extra movement. Just to make sure we're not like continuing to add extra movement. Hopefully that makes sense. Can I make it do a barrel roll? Eventually, yes, I will make it do a barrel roll. Thanks for watching. But yeah, I want to play around with some spline stuff that they added recently. So I'll make it do a barrel roll when I get to the spline stuff. So so we'll say if player character is not null, we will add the extra movement to that. So let's see if this works. I haven't tested any of this. It might break entirely. Some sick Mega Man music. So it's not quite working. I wonder why that is. Okay. isn't this working? Oh, okay, I think I know why it's not working. I think what's happening is it's detecting its own collider, which I do not want it to do. So, let's see. I'll add a layer called moving platform. And I will put the platform itself on that layer. And then in our project settings, in our physics tab, I can pick which layers can interact with which other layers. So I can make it so moving platform cannot interact with moving platform. And actually I'm just gonna make it so it can only interact with default and player. So that should make it so it won't detect its own collider. Because I think what was happening was every frame it was checking to see if the player was there, but it was finding its own collider and being like, this collider doesn't have a player, so there is no player. So let's try it now. Didn't quite work, but I think might be slightly closer to getting it to work. Nope. Alright, why isn't this working? Our player is on the player layer, right? Yes. So why? It is set to trigger. This one is not set to trigger, so it should be working. Maybe I need to put the rigid body on here. Splatoon music. Moving platforms are hard. Hard to get right. Why is this not working? Alright, we're gonna set a breakpoint and do some actual debugging here. Set on trigger enter player character equals PC. We'll attach the debugger and then we'll get a breakpoint if that function triggers. Hello, debugger. There we go. All right, let's see. All right, so we're not hitting the breakpoint, which means something is not set up correctly. So we're gonna take the rigid body off there and put it back on here. See if that fixes it. Because in order for on-trigger enter and exit to work, one of the colliders that's involved in the collision needs to have a rigid body. And the player is using a character controller, so it can't use a rigid body. Alright, so not triggering here. Okay, we got it that time. Which seems wrong. Why did it happen that time? And we can move forward one frame. Okay. So that was super weird. It seems like it's only detecting it sometimes. Okay, it worked there. And it immediately stops. Let's put my collider visualizer on it just so I can see it a little bit better. So I do want to make sure that the collider is all the way above. And I might shrink it down a tiny bit. On the X and the Z, so it doesn't go all the way to the edge. I'm gonna turn off that. think part of the problem might just be the way that I'm caching it. So let's try, rather than just having a one player character reference, because again, it's possible that it's just not detecting it right. So we're gonna make it a list of player character objects. And then if player character is not null, let's say if player characters dot contains PC, and we'll say if it doesn't contain, then we'll add it. And then we'll do a similar thing here. And then in this, instead of null checking it, we'll just loop through every instance of player characters. So we'll do int I equals 0, I is less than player characters dot count I plus plus, and then we'll say player characters sub I. So this way, if there's multiple instances of a player character on the platform, all of them will move instead of whichever one most recently touched the platform. I think that might have been part of the problem. Not entirely sure yet. All right, let's see. So now we have a list that's empty. It's weird. It seems like it's only adding it like certain. Why is it only adding it sometimes? Buddy, don't bark. I'm gonna set it to continuous dynamic for the collision. I think that might be part of the problem. I'm also going to set it to interpolate. Triggers on moving objects can be a little funky. Alright, what's going on with this? Let's just make this collider really big. Maybe it's too small. It's so weird. Why is it only showing up like a fraction of the time? What is wrong with this? Trigger enter. Okay, that might be part of the problem. That's a super weird shape for that collider to be. I think I moved the wrong part of it. I meant to move this, so it's taller, not wider. That kind of looks like it's working. Let's see. Yeah. It's a little jittery, but it's working. Cool. We have moving platforms. I'm gonna switch it to update instead of fixed update, just so I think that might make it a little bit smoother. This fixed update happens every physics frame, and update happens every frame. So yeah, I think the problem was just the collider was too small. And I guess that makes sense because the way that the character's collider is set up, they are a capsule. So if it's, you know, if this thing is really short, it's possible because only like one point of the capsule would touch the moving platform. So guess it makes sense that it needed to be taller. It's still a little jittery, but I can deal with it. Cool. We have moving platforms. Gonna go ahead and apply all the overrides on there. So now I think this other moving platform over here also will have that. I'm gonna go ahead and move this moving platform to the top of these stairs. And we'll set one of them to like the top there, and then we'll put the end point I'll move that up to like above the flag. Nice. Cool. Moving platform works. Now I kind of want to try doing a moving platform with a spline. So let's try that. So we will, because first we need to make a spline. And I don't exactly know how these splines work, so we'll figure it out together. I didn't mean to select everything. Spline. We'll start with a circle. Let's see. So we'll do a similar thing where we make a parent object that will be called moving platform underscore spline. And we'll make a new script. Make a new script called moving platform underscore spline. I'm gonna look up the Unity spline package documentation just so I can see how it all works. Not a whole lot of, oh, here we go, scripting API. Unity engine.spline interpolators. So we're gonna make our spline moving platform inherit from moving platform. So we have all similar functionality. We'll keep, you know, the update function, the on trigger, enter, and exit will be the same. I think the only difference will be this move function. So open that up. So first things first, we need to use Unity Engine .splines, and I think we'll probably also need the spline interpolator. All right, cool. And then we'll want a spline. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. Hold on. Let's see. Spline container. I think we want a spline container. Cool. Yeah, so we can get the spline that we made through that. Let's see. Let's look at the I wish they had examples in some of these. Most of these are for editing the splines, and I don't want to edit the spline. I want to read the data from the spline so I can move along it. Spline animate. Okay, so we have an evaluate function, and I think that's what we want. I think we want evaluate position, because that will give us basically a vector 3 based on the time. So Let's see. Just gonna make let's see. Platform transform. No, we'll still do a coroutine. Hold on. Let's see. Just gotta make these protected. So I can access them in the derived class. All right. So, we'll do override the move function, and we will, let's see. Let's see, we want I'll just comment. We'll copy some stuff from the base class. We'll just copy this whole function for now. I'll make some changes to it. Alright. Current's 0. We don't have access to speed, so we want that to be protected. Alright. So instead of lerping this, we'll just set it to swine.evaluate, and then current divide by duration. I think we need to use the new yeah, we need to use the math class. Do I not have it installed? fumbling around. I'm learning some new stuff. I thought the math package came by default. Yeah. Okay, I think I just need this. Okay, it's a struct. Okay, it's unity.mathematics, not unity engine. That's annoying. So now I can say float 3 position equals spline dot evaluate current divide by duration says there isn't one that only takes one. Okay. I think I want evaluate position. And then cool, I think we can just cast a float 3 as a vector 3. And so obviously this speed is going to be all jacked up, or the duration is going to be all jacked up, but that's okay. We'll just set it to speed just so we can test it. Alright, this spline is way too small. I'm just gonna set the start and end point both to spline for now, so it doesn't throw errors, but we'll see if this does anything. Wow, it worked. The speed is whack, but can't believe that actually worked. So like if we bump the speed down to like, oh, we broke it because we made it negative. It needs to be bigger than 1. Cool, and we could have it so the platform rotates to follow the spline, and then we would also need to make sure that the player character rotates with the platform. But this is a good start. I think it's gonna have problems if the spline is not continuous. Like this, it's a closed loop. So yeah, I think if I set it not to be closed, it's gonna like just zoop back to the, yeah. So it doesn't follow it like perfectly smoothly. There's issues with it. We also want to like choose the behavior that that the platform has. So like, what do we want it to do when it gets to one end or the other? So we could have it so like the platform only moves when it first detects the player, and it moves to the end of the spline and then waits there until it detects the player again. Or we could have it, you know, ping pong back and forth so it's continuously moving. But that's a problem for a later date. I think this is all I've got time for today. But thank you very much to any of you who hung out here. It's been fun working on this and sharing the process of making games with everyone. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will probably be streaming again tomorrow, so stay tuned. If you want to catch up on the backlog of previous streams, I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Grizzhoot, GRIZZHOOT, same as my Twitch name. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a Twitch where I stream. So yeah, I've been streaming this whole process and uploading the entire thing to YouTube, and I want to show the process start to finish of making an entire game and releasing it. So I'm making this silly little frog game. Again, I have been Grizzhoot. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.